So the distributive property is actually a pretty easy thing to do, but it's easy also to forget about. And so we need to first understand, what does the distributive property mean? So if you look at multiplication, whenever you have a multiplication like we do here, we have 2 times this quantity, x plus 3. Whenever you have multiplication, you're saying how many groups of it you have. So you're saying you have x plus 3, so x plus 3 if we use algebra blocks, but we have 2 of them, so I have x plus 3 again. So I have 2 x's, so we have 2x, and then I have 2 groups of 3, so I have really 6 of the units. So some people call this the rainbow method because you see we have you know, our loopties here that look kind of like rainbows. But basically we're just saying I have 2 of everything. I have 2 of the x's and 2 of the 3's. Now the mistake a lot of people make is they just take the 2 times the x and they forget to take the 2 times the 3. But because the x and the 3 are both in the bubble here, we're saying that we have to take 2 times both of those. We have to take 2 times all of it because I have x plus 3 twice, and so both of them I have twice. So let's look at a couple examples. So let's say I have 3 times x plus 5. So I'm saying I have 3 groups of x, so I have 3 x's, and I have 3 groups of 5. I have 3 5s. So I have an x and I have 5. I have an x. I think I had too many 5s there. Let's see. I have an x and then I have 5, and then I have another x, and then I have 5. So I have 3 groups of x, that gives me 3x, and I have 3 groups of 5, that gives me 15. So I have 3 x's plus the 15 units. And I'm still not putting these together because notice the x's and the units are different. So I can't say that I have a bunch of these when I only have 3 of them. I don't have 5 of each of those. And I can't say that these are x's now because they're still just the dots. Okay, we can do this with all kinds of stuff. We can do it when we have a variable. So let's say I had w plus 6, and then I had times another w. Okay, so I had w groups of that. Well, I can't draw that out because I don't know how many w's there are. But what I can do is I can take w times w, and that gives me w squared, because whenever you take something times itself, you can use an exponent. Plus, I have w times 6, so I have 6w. Okay, so as long as I take that w times both of them, I'm good. All right, you don't have to have the number in front. What we could have had r plus 2 times 3, and I still am saying I have 3 groups of that. So I have to take 3 times the r, and I have to take 3 times the 2. And last but not least, you can have a negative and still consider this a distributive property. So when you have a negative out in front of a bubble, you can almost look at that as being a -1. And then we have to take that -1 times both of them. So I get -2 plus -x, or I could just write it as -2 minus x. Okay, so that's the distributive property at its most basic. Now, of course, problems can get a little bit more involved. So let's say we had 4 plus 2 times x plus 3. Okay, so before we can actually do some of this adding that we have, because we do have a bit of adding, we have an adding here and an adding here, I do say I have this, and this means multiplication. If we follow our order of operations from last chapter, we're going to have to take that 2 times the x and 2 times the 3 before we do any adding. So I'm still going to have a 4 plus 2 times the x is 2x, plus 2 times the 3 is 6. Then we can put together our like terms, the things that are the same. These would be the green guys here if we're using algebra blocks. So I still have the 2x plus now I have 10 green guys, and that would be my answer. So the distributive property shows up all over in just regular old math problems. So you're going to have to know how to do this one.